The JSON file, shortly, because we all know what the JSON file is, I assume. There's a QR code here with an example of the registry I mentioned earlier. But yeah, JSON files are human readable. It's understandable by machines and by humans, which is great. It's lightweight, efficient. It's very flexible. It's easy to add data, to nest fields. And yeah, but on the left here is an example of a clear signing JSON file. We can see that for the amount, there's a label which we choose to display on the device. So here, amount alone doesn't really mean anything, but when you name it amount to send, then you understand better. And we have a format which is dedicated to a token amount, which is called token amount. And the bottom part here is called required, and this is where we decide what's important to be displayed on the device. Some fields are unnecessary. We don't need to show the user every field on the device, but only the main ones. And this is where this is done, by the required field. Implementing clear signing is very simple, but it depends if you're a dApp or a wallet. If you're a dApp, we just seen it. You create a JSON file and you submit it. We have the tools for this. We have a very visual JSON creation tool. And if you're a wallet, you can actually use our new device management kit, which includes the signer kit, and basically you're done. So if you support the new sets of libraries for wallets, you will be part of the clear signing initiative. The new device management kit is a replacement of Ledger.js. Maybe some of you are familiar with Ledger.js, the legacy set of libraries and tools to connect Ledger devices to dApps and wallets. This is the new version. It's a device management kit. It's very visual, it's very practical. You have state management as well, which is nice. You can see if the device is on, off, idle. You can call OS commands directly. So yeah, just a better way overall to manage Ledger devices if you're a wallet. Briefly on the year that just passed, 2024, the initiative started with the white paper that we published in Q1 2024, about the time of ETH Denver back then. We then held a request for comment webinar where we invited key opinion leaders and partners and dApps to give their feedback on the proposal. So yeah, it's not just a Ledger initiative, it's really collaborative. We want the whole space to benefit from it and participate. But yeah, after this webinar, we made a few adjustments and we published the standard, which is ERC 7730, as I mentioned slightly before. We held our first demo on stage in Q3 last year. It was with Rabi, and we did a 1-inch transaction on stage. And we also clear-signed permits on Ethereum. And all the tools I mentioned with the public registry, the JSON edition tools, all of this came at the end of last year, around the time of ETH Global, San Francisco, and Bangkok. Now we can see a visual example of the JSON creation tool, and we'll take the example of Aave and see how they might have done it. So the first step when we land on the page is to enter the contract address. So Aave's contract address is on the left here. The QR code will take you to the tool itself. And then the first step, step 2, is to fill the main metadata that will describe the smart contract. So here we can see the owner, the legal name, and the URL to give more context information. And this will be displayed on device, as we can see. Second step, we choose the function which we want to clear sign. Here we've chosen the borrow operation on the top. We give it a name, so here borrow tokens was given. And we can choose to hide fields that we don't really necessarily want to display on the device. The amount field was renamed amount to borrow, which is friendlier. And as well as the interest rate mode was named interest rate mode. We have a visual preview on this tool that will really give you a simulation of what it looks like on a real device, which is very nice. And the third step is you download your JSON and you submit it. So it's much better than writing it on your own and trying to figure out all the details of the documentation and formats and fields. It's a very visual way to create it, and it takes, like I said, like roughly 10-20 minutes to do. And the end result is quite nice. We can see here what it would look like on the stacks. So we see we're interacting with Aave, we're borrowing 0.5 ETH with a variable interest rate mode, and we see the debtor as well. Right now, we really enter the phase of education. We're pushing clear signing. We're working with partners, making sure the space understands why it's important and wants to participate in helping. So we really entered this phase now. But we also want to clear sign account abstraction and externally owned accounts. And of course, although it's nice to clear sign Ethereum, it's not the only chain out there, and we should also aim to clear sign more chains, which is work we have started and will continue to do. However, understanding transactions is nice, but it may not be enough. Humans are not perfect. It's not because you understand something that it's safe. And for this reason, we also recently announced transaction checks. What this does is, together with partners, we're simulating a transaction, so it's an optional feature. And if you're interacting with a malicious dApp or contract or address, a threat will be displayed on the device. We will show you that it may be risky to continue. And yeah, it's just an extra layer of protection, which is really complementary to clear signing, because clear signing is the human part of it, and this is the machine part, the machine assessment of the risk. We can see a visual preview on the right here, so we can see the threat has been detected by the provider. We can choose to accept it and continue, despite the threat, which is obviously not safe, might not be safe. Yeah, so extra layer of security with transaction checks. How it works is pretty simple. So the transaction is crafted on the wallet. It's then sent to trusted third parties who are going to simulate the transaction, conduct a risk analysis, return this risk analysis, and then the whole thing, the clear signing flow and the risk are displayed on the device. Another visual example here, we can see on the left a screen where everything is fine. We're taken to the clear signing flow. We can just continue as we always have. And on the right is where it's interesting. A threat has been detected and we can really see the detail. What's nice about this is we can really understand why the threat has been detected. We can go and check the detail actually and understand, why is this considered a threat? Okay. There's a few useful links you can check. The documentation, which is called the Ledger Developer Portal. We have a whole team working on the documentation that makes sure it's thorough and helps developers integrate Ledger. So please do check it out with the QR code. There's also a clear signing homepage you can check out, as well as the repo I mentioned with all the JSON files if you're curious. And we do have a blog where we occasionally post advancements on clear signing and how the space is evolving to become safer in general. Thank you very much. Sorry. Yeah, so the question was, is there a cost for transaction checks? And yeah, there is a cost. The providers take a fee basically to allow Ledger to use the service, which we take into account. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. The question is about false positives on transaction checks. So it's hard to always know if it's one of the solutions to this is working with more than one partner, which is what we're doing. So if we have a couple or three partners, so if all three return a risk, then there are high chances it's true. But also this is also why we show on the device the explanation and why it's been flagged as such. So it's not perfect, but at least we show you, and then you might decide on your own.
Does the data provider have to do the JSON step for clear signing to work, or is there some inference they haven't done that step?
Yeah, so the dApps do have to create their JSON file and submit it. Yeah, and if you want to see us after and talk about it, with pleasure. Yeah.
So, developing a dApp to start. then later, the DeFi app will want to recommend hardware. So I can file ledger agreements and tier side, but I can't apply them before they use my app. So my question is, do you have different wallets who, after a certain level of assets, that recommend hardware or sell? Because basically, if I have users with $5,000 or $10,000 in a hot wallet, I actually want them to do hardware accounts. I want them to move to that.
But there's nothing.
There's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do, unfortunately, to force people to use hardware wallets. But maybe on your UI, you can display something like, a little message like you may not be safe with, but yeah, obviously, we both agree that it's important to secure large amounts on hardware wallets.
In the earlier slides, you showed that the transaction ID and the sender name was in plain text, but the receiver name was basically in cache. So still there is a gibberish in the transaction. So are you deliberately having a receiver name, or it was just like in the slide?
So the receiver was the address of the receiver, the public address of the receiver. It was not a hash. It's the same you would see on your own wallet, your public key basically. The hash was only yeah, no, it's not going to be a name. It might be an ENS. No, yeah.
Because you still are confused basically where I'm sending this money. You want to see the person name on the transaction.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the person's name is never really associated to their addresses. That's a whole, unless their ENS is exactly their last name and first name, We can play the little game now, if you want to win a free ledger device. Oh, sorry, one more question? So what happens if the hardware wallet is tampered with? It would be a big problem. It hasn't happened, and we're confident it will not, but it would be a big problem indeed.
So ledger technology is one of the safest, is the safest in the world. It hasn't been hacked. The electronics hasn't been hacked. And since the electronics, the name of the chip is actually called the SE, the secure element is the name of the chip. It is physically connected to the display. So you cannot hack what you see on the display of the wallet.
So if the device is damaged, so yeah, when you set up your device, basically you store words, your recovery phrase, and as long as you have these words that will be able to reconstruct your private key, you can just import it anywhere, including an unsafe wallet.
We are going to be around during the next Saturday and Sunday, so if you want to come and see us, feel free. If there are no more questions for the time being, perhaps if you all agree, we can move on to the quiz. Yeah?
I do wonder if people at the back are going to see the questions, right? Because maybe the font will be quite small. Okay, just one thing first though. At the end of the Kahoot, you will be shown a screen with your name, username. Please keep that open because, obviously if you won, we need proof and